at the ADS. This paper was kind of done by me and Ray Moore. Stuart Jeffrey had some involvement in the background, so he can chime in if I get anything wrong. But today I'm just going to give a brief overview of the ADS for those of you who don't know. Then I'm going to go over the ADSeasy system and project, and then I think more interesting will be kind of talking about some future directions we'd like to take ADSeasy and how that might affect you guys. So for those of you who don't know, the ADS, we're a digital archive for archaeological data. We're based at the University of York. We've been around since 1996, yeah, remit is basically to support research, learning, and teaching with high quality dependable digital resources. What most of that means to most of you guys will be the website. We disseminate all of our data in addition to performing long-term preservation responsibilities. But if you want more information, just visit the website. There's lots of stuff up there. But ADSeasy, the project that we're going to talk about today, kind of was born out of a few things that we identified in the kind of workflows that we operate within, from the depositor to the actual final archiving dissemination of the data. And we wanted something that would help the depositor think about the project archive and provide estimates for cost of the deposition. Cost is a big thing, obviously, and following on from kind of Mark's talk, where we have to pay for this somehow, and that usually has to be done by the depositor. We don't want to charge people for the downloading and reuse of the data at the usage point. We want to charge it at the other end. So having an open and kind of understandable costing model, because I think that's sometimes seen as a bit of a mystery for people that use our service. So we want to kind of make it more open. Allow people to log in, create resource discovery metadata, which is one of our big problems when we do get data from people. Uploading files, checking costs, create file level metadata, which isn't necessarily resource discovery metadata. So we're not talking about it's a Roman site, or it's this kind of artifact, or this kind of stuff in the actual content of the data. We're talking about the nuts and bolts of the format. So what kind of version of JPEG is it? What kind of version of shapefile is it? So on and so forth. And then also signing an E-license. We have to get license permission from the depositor. So we've had the old-fashioned way of sending a letter and people signing and sending it back, but we wanted to update that for the 21st century and do E-licenses. So that was another objective. And those these all kind of were born out of some work we've done with Wessex with regards to their image archive that they deposit with us, which is kind of a semi-automated system. And the Southampton City Council archives, who basically are uploading, using us as their digital archive and uploading stuff to our system. So basically, with that in mind, we wanted to basically create a semi-automated project-based system for the deposition of archaeological data and metadata. Like I said, the transparent costing module, so people can understand more about where the costs are. And also streamline the ADS infrastructure, because there's a lot of back and forth that we'll show in a second with regards to getting metadata information from depositors. So want to make that easier and therefore more cost effective for us and for the depositors. So this is the old model of how we manage deposits. Ray Moore showed this at CAA in Southampton last year. And basically it starts with you guys on the left, data creators. You'll send us an email or actually a physical package of some storage media. It gets sent to us, the digital archivists, and then we would do the accessioning and ingest stage. What usually happened, though, is that wasn't the end of it. We had to keep on harassing the depositors because we didn't get the right metadata. Something looked out of place. We had too many pictures of cats and other stuff that wasn't relevant. We even had stuff where we don't do a lot of kind of quality control at this stage because we don't want to tell you guys what's relevant archaeologically and what's not. But there's some instances where there was a project that occurred in the Red Sea. We looked at the images and we're pretty sure we noticed the Rock of Gibraltar in the pictures and thought that's probably not right. They might have mixed up the pictures or something. So there's a lot of kind of this process that happens. It usually annoys the depositors and they just think, oh, I just want to, because when they deposit with us, they just want to give it to us, forget about it, and not worry about it. They've already published the interpretation in the monograph or articles. They just want to get rid of it. So this was always a very protracted, long process that tended to be a bit frustrating. And then basically once that accession the ingest and accession happens. Then the digital archivist would take it into the collection management system, and we go through the dissemination and preservation processes. So we thought we'd improve that, because we obviously still, need to manage these collections and want to disseminate and archive, but we thought we might come up with a better way of that first bit, which was long and tortuous at times. So the ADSeasy project is the idea of creating a system that the depositor uses, uploads all their metadata, uploads the data, identifies and tags effectively all the data with the appropriate information that's relevant. And then this basically gets loaded into our pre-CMS, and this is where a lot of the automated processes would happen. Basically using Droid, or we use Apache Tika now for file format identification, creating checksums, virus checks, stuff like that. So we're just trying to streamline that first bit of the process, which is the one that always took us a very long time. So this is, now I'll show you some screenshots. We didn't dare do a live demonstration of this. We stuck with screenshots, and it doesn't look exactly like this either anymore. But this is the interface. Basically, you can log in and basically manage projects like you'd expect. This is just a test one with a couple of projects here. You can create new projects, and we basically go through this whole workflow step-by-step process for you, the depositor, to make it easier. One of the other things is we've tied it to the OASIS system. So this is to help streamline if you have OASIS reports with the OASIS system. We can pre-populate the relevant fields in ADSeasy appropriately. So in this example, this report, the OASIS ID Cambridge 3-31126, and then basically getting all that information pulled out from the OASIS system and pre-populated to the project information. Obviously, there's other stuff that we'd actually still need. And so just basic stuff, project name descriptions, languages, and this form goes on and on. The other thing that obviously is important is the uploading of data and actual files. So we have a little applet that you can drag and drop your files there. You can add them, you can search your local machine and just upload them there. This obviously has some issues if you have a lot of data. We wouldn't really recommend the system for big, massive data deposits. This is more for, I think, smaller, more manageable ones, because obviously we're pushing a lot of data over the internet. That can take time, and it's sometimes not very efficient. But once you get the data into the system, we still need a way of actually identifying the files and getting metadata associated with those. And we realized that if you did have a lot of files in the system, we probably weren't necessarily going to want to upload all the information manually. This is in the manual form for associating metadata with the objects. Very, very basic. This example, this has been extended as well to give more kind of resource discovery information. But the basic stuff, checksums, size, and some of this is pulled out automatically from these applications like Droid or Apache Tika. But some of them, they're not perfect, that software. So we do kind of need sometimes human help to figure those out. So for example, identifying as Microsoft Word, Apache Tika could probably do that, but it might not be able to tell what version it is of Microsoft Word, which is obviously very important with regards to reuse. But that you'd have to do for every single file you uploaded, but you obviously aren't always going to want to do that because you have a lot of files. You might already have the metadata managed in your own database, your own system. So basically we provided a batch processing, so you can basically download a spreadsheet that's basically populated with identifiers that are of the files that have been loaded up into the system. And this has been extended further, so you can download this. It's got all the object IDs that have the file name as well. And then you can basically fill this in your own time, use your existing database or spreadsheets that have the metadata for it, populate those, and then just upload it back into the ADSeasy system. So it's not something that you're forced to kind of one by one go through the metadata creation for those objects. And then the other thing that we wanted to provide, which was quite important, was the transparent costing module. So we now have this in place where you don't have to actually log in and be an actual user of the system. You can just visit this whenever you want. Get an idea of how much things would cost for depositing with us. Roughly, this is obviously isn't the final kind of official cost or anything, but this is just an example I just did really quickly. I kind of created my own little imaginary project with one database, a few GIS shape files, and a bunch of images, and you can get the price there. We also compare, you can see down here, what it would cost for using our traditional method, which is just giving us the data and having us do it. So we're hoping that ADSeasy is appealing to people because it'll save people money in the process. But of course, like I said as well, this isn't the final kind of cost. We do take into account various things, and as file counts go up, costs actually go down, because particularly in some types of files, because they're easy to automate the migration and management of them anyway. So this is just to give a rough idea for people to use. So basically, that's the system. I think we're hoping to have it released by the end of March, I think, or April. So we'll make a big announcement, and I think we're doing some more workshops in the process. But hopefully, it'll be something that's appealing to the commercial units as well. Cut down their costs, so allow an easy system for them to upload their data into the ADS. But kind of two future directions I want to talk about really quick. The first one is ADSeasy is a SWORD client, and for those of you who don't know what SWORD is a protocol based on the Atom Hub protocol. It was developed under some JISC funding, and there's been a lot of work around it at Southampton and other universities. Basically, it's a way of moving data around, and the way that they've done this is it allows clients to basically upload data to other repositories and things. And the ADSeasy project was born out of, or it's within the project that's known as SWORD arm. And originally we had the idea that, well, with SWORD being a really, it's a actively developed protocol, and it seems to be gaining some traction, let's create an endpoint for people to use SWORD clients to upload all this data to us. But we realized that actually SWORD's probably not that good for that purpose. Actually, what SWORD would be better for would be actually using the ADSeasy system as a client and then pushing metadata and data around to other repositories. So the idea that I kind of have that I think would be really useful is if we can turn ADSeasy into a system that allows you to capture the metadata in a structured format and with all the information we need, and then it doesn't even necessarily be deposited with us at the ADS. We can actually then push it to UCL, we can push it to Southampton repository, we can push it to the Bodleian, wherever you're supposed to be depositing that data to. So I think it's got some potential because it could add some consistency, because these repositories aren't very good at resource discipline-specific metadata capture. They don't know what information is important. They kind of know basic formats and stuff like that, but they won't necessarily know, archaeologically speaking, what's important to capture. So hopefully this ADSeasy system could turn into that, where you can basically prepare your archive with this system and then just push it on to whatever repository is appropriate. The other one is I don't give many talks without talking about linked data at some point anymore. So the obligatory linked data mentioned it here, and this is something that I've been kind of working on the side of kind of some other stuff, and it follows on from stellar projects I've talked about elsewhere. But I think linked data has got some potential to help better describe this stuff that we're putting into ADSeasy. So for those of you who don't know, linked data is this idea of a bunch of big web of data. It's a semantic web, all these other things. Leaf talks about it all the time, and you can talk to him or me on the side if you want more information. But what linked data at the moment is really useful for, in my opinion, is using it as kind of a lookup process for figuring out, particularly when there's thesauri that have been published as linked data, looking up and finding out what the actual official description of something is, the official identifier. So for example, Ordnance Survey publishes some linked data of all their kind of places and entities. They have a really nice little API, REST API that you can do lookups there. So for example, I just looked up York in their web service. And the problem is you get a lot of results that turn back. It's doing a kind of fuzzy search, it's not doing a precise match. You'll notice there's 2 Yorks there, which are kind of interesting that the Ordnance Survey would have 2 entities that are known as York. You'll know that in the middle, kind of down there, York Iberacum, which is obviously the Roman name of York, so that's actually in there somewhere as well. But what we can do is, if we want to describe the place York accurately, we should look up and try to align it with an authority like the Ordnance Survey that has a published kind of vocabulary. But the actual one that we want to put there is the city of York, if you can see that. That's the actual preferred label and the label of the city of York. And the linked data model's got a bunch of kind of other attributes hung off it. So it's got all the parishes of York, it's got the European region that it's a part of, and other information that's really useful. But there's some other service as well, and there's one service that's coming out, a project called Seneschal, which Kerry Binding and Glamorgan's doing, which is going to be Scotsifying the English heritage, thesaurus, and monument terms, and period terms, and some of their other thesauri. But at the moment, we've got Library of Congress publishes this stuff as well. So the idea of how this all relates to ADSeasy is, this is a picture of our collection management system. This is what the curators and digital archivists use to actually manage these data sets that are deposited to us. But what we want to start doing is more accurately describing them, because you'll notice most of them are free text. I mean, some of the thesaurus monument terms types, we've got drop downs because those are well defined lists. But for like Library of Congress, there's so many that it's impossible. So it's a free text entry. But what we can do, and what I'm going to start doing is actually doing lookups to those linked data endpoints, to the Sparkle endpoints. So if someone is putting in, for a Library of Congress term, something like archaeology, they can do the lookup against the Sparkle endpoint, and then I can return all the results that come back. So in the Library of Congress subject heading, if you have a look, they've got like archaeology, they've got these dashes and these extensions that they do. And then the user can select archaeology and say, that's the archaeology I mean, not archaeology of Alaska or archaeology of Alberta. And then it can more accurately align that data with what they actually mean. So the idea is to incorporate something like this into ADSeasy as well. So we'll be looking up in the Seneschal outputs, which will be the source of monument terms, looking up to geonames, to Ordnance Survey, and basically allowing the metadata to be more accurately aligned with what it actually means and more consistently. But then this is also kind of hiding the complexity of all the linked data stuff. So you don't really know that you're using linked data, but we can actually associate linked data with the metadata that you're creating as well. So this is kind of the vision that the direction we like to go, but we've still got some work to do on it to actually make it work. So that's that. I hope it made sense. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mike. Anybody have any questions for